Hi there. I received a question from someone about what I'm doing here signal path-wise. Can you explain a little how you have your input effects? Are you using an iPad, and are all those effects within the app? I've been out of it for a long time. I'd love learning. That is awesome. So let's look at it. Let me see. Let's get out of this. How about this? Let's back up. So yeah, this is an iPad. This is an iPad Pro, 12, well, almost 13 inch. It's not necessary. I use it because it's easier to get on camera. But I have an iPhone 5S, that runs BiasFX2 perfectly, just about. I mean, the speed of the device you're using, or the however new it is, will just help as far as mostly latency. Like the time between when you strike a string and you hear a noise. The faster, the better. But it's not really necessary. I use an iPad Mini 4, and it works great to me. I mean, it's very convenient. If you drag in more effects, it starts to tax the CPU a little more, so you're going to get you may get more latency, and when it starts to fail, you'll know it'll make a distorted, crackling sound. But BiasFX2 will run, I mean, in my experience, it runs really well on just about anything. I mean, I would go so far as, I have the 5S and the Mini 4 are as old as the things I have, the oldest things I have that run BiasFX2 on. Naturally, you need an input device to interface the guitar to the iPad. I'm using the X-Tone Stomp, I think it is. Maybe I'll put a graphic up here. An X-Tone Stomp. And the thing to consider with those is the same as digital music. It's the higher the sample rate, the higher the bit rate, the better. I mean, 16-bit 44.1 will sound fine for. I probably would say, like, it would be hard to get people to be able to tell the difference. But as you play more, you'll start to feel it. You'll start to know that a higher bit depth, especially, will give you a little more dynamic range, push the noise floor down a little better. And I mean, if you can sustain 48K, that's what I'm using, I think. Here, let's open it up. And let's see. How about if I clear it? This is what you would come up with. I think I should explain as well that BiasFX2, within the iPad milieu or garden, digital audio interfacing between other programs, like, let's say, if you wanted to record what you're playing, which you'll probably want to do. BiasFX and Positive Grid still have this as an inter-app audio application, which has been deprecated by Apple, but many app developers still use it. Not all. There are some digital recording apps that don't support inter-app audio, which is kind of a bummer. It's probably the biggest drawback that I can think of for this application for me. I find this to be all I need for just about everything, and I've tried just about everything, but it doesn't have what we call audio unit support. Audio units are a little less taxing resource-wise, and you can have multiple instances. You could have You could have bias effects existing on 4 or 5 tracks, whatever your CPU would support, but you can only have one instance of an inter-app audio program running. So you'd have to record each track, finalize it with the effects and everything, and then go back and do the next track. Again, not ideal. But I find myself always going back to BiasFX2. It's just the easiest, most flexible in every other way. Because I will show you that, along with the BiasFX interface that you were just looking at, every amplifier, just about, unless it's a special package or a custom amp by an endorsement, you can bring into this application here, which is an amplifier editor / builder, and you can change the preamp, you can change the tone stack, you can change the power amp, the tubes, you can change the transformer, compression, release, attack. It's tons of fun, and if you're into this kind of thing, this is unequaled so far. I don't know anybody that else that has. You can even design you can change out components of the face of the amplifier. And this works seamlessly with BiasFX, BiasFX2 and 1 if you can get it or you have it. So I choose not to have this running in the background, though, just for simplistic reasons. Oh, well, while we're out there, you also have Bias Pedal. You can edit effects pedals. It's a little limited and it's a little confusing at times, but you can get in there and do a few cool things with it. I haven't spent a ton of time on it, but it's just another option that you don't get with anything else. And on top of that, the amount of effects that are available. I can't really, let's see. Oh, yes, I can. Let me show you. Bear with me here. I have something that shows all of the effects. And I just have to. I wish they had a search function for this. There's not a whole lot of difference between this and the desktop version. As far as sound, you may find people that are going to tell you that the desktop sounds better, but I think that's really splitting hairs. And again, a lot of that has to do with the device that you're using to convert, to get your guitar into the digital device. Well, these are all the effects. I tried to put all the effects on one timeline. And without getting bogged down in this, okay, we're at the end. Let's have a quick run through. As you can see, there's a lot of effects here, a lot. And I really don't know who else offers that. And if to be fair and to be critical, they're not. A lot of them are similar, very similar, because that's how effects are. A digital delay is going to be a digital delay, but they don't all sound the same. But again, that's just more fun, and it's all right here, all in one package, which kind of, to me, I don't know, it just makes it easier. I find myself just going back to this all the time. So here we have, this is the default now you can hear my pick through the microphone. So if I turn this off, don't get that pick sound. So I'll probably be turning it off, which will make it a little more awkward, but you don't really want to hear the... So this is supposed to be a Vox, but now the question was about the effects. And let me see, what was it again? How you have your input effects. Are you using an iPad? Yes. Effects within, yeah, all the effects are within the app. And I am using an iPad. And regarding input and output effects, let me go back. Let me show you this is the screen as it appears on the iPad. You can place any of the effects before or after the head and the speaker cabinet. So you can put this here or here. This is another thing that I've tried some hardware units. I forget what they were. I returned them within days. It was just too limiting. Yeah, it's infinitely flexible. There's not one thing that you can't do that with, I don't think. Not that I know of. So this is the default amp that you would come up with. It comes with a gate. It's not really necessary. So let me show you. One of the things I would recommend when you're trying to set these things up is noise level. I've done recording. In fact, the person who asked this question and myself, we had a studio. And it was great. It was great fun. I'll tell you about that sometime. If I was going to record, and I don't care what level, see, this is how old I am. To say it was digital recording would have meant something vastly different. If I was to say, well, I don't care if it's regular recording or digital recording, because now everything is recorded. We used to do stuff on tape. But anyway, you want to get a good sound. You know, noise, the gating is cool for certain applications, for high gain sounds that don't require any dynamics. But generally speaking, adding noise just adds noise, and it adds to the to a sort of a sometimes blatantly obvious shitty quality, and sometimes it's a subliminal problem that you notice when it goes away. And generally, you want to get a clean sound. I mean, like, I don't mean style-wise. I mean like signal, and that takes a little more effort than sometimes just plugging your shit in. Gain structure. Like if you go into modifying these amplifiers, you'll learn real quick about how adding gain stages really starts to pile up noise levels and stuff like that. And plus EQ, what brings in certain kinds of noise and certain frequencies that are easier to hear or easier to hide. But anyway, let's get back to this. Sorry. Oh, you can change. I mean, there's so much to tell you. You can change out the speakers. I guess I should just focus on the question at hand. So the question at hand is, yes, I did have the effects before. Now the thing that this question was referring to was I used a backing track, and the backing track has its own effects. That was a mixed backing track from the people that they're on the video. It's a credit to them. It's a Bandcamp thing. I can't think of the name of it. So it might be a little hard to discern in the recording, but if you listen closely, you can kind of pick out what's on the guitar and what's not. So the amp and effects that were directly applied to the guitar were from only the iPad. The music was being played from my web browser on the computer and into OBS. So this is kind of a lackluster sound. You can kind of hear the character of the instrument you're playing. Let me see if I can get some of this out of here. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. So you're not going to hear me very well, but I will say one downside too is the tuner. It's really slow. I'm gonna sit through this. So you have to really give it time to catch up. Or you'll overshoot it. Like that. Uh-huh. There we go. So, and the characteristics of the amps try to approximate the real thing. You know, I mean, how good is it? It's up. It's the answer is as varied as there are opinions in the world. I would say if the best way to test these things is to play this against an amp and ask a guy who can't see the source or a person what they're listening to, and if they can tell you the difference consistently, then there's a difference. But I would say a lot of people can't tell the difference, and there's a lot of snobbery that goes along with this. Although it's a lot less now since Axe Effects and stuff like that, which is essentially the same thing. The processing power in the iPad, especially now with the M1 and the M2, is very significant. If a developer were to go into detail and take this really seriously, it could really be like, I guess it's, you know, if it were exploited, it could become really, really impressive. It's impressive now, but I mean, you could really become top level. You could put it head to head with stuff like that. What else? Oh yeah, let's look at what I'm recording at here. Audio settings. Yeah, buffer size is 128, which is fairly quick. I don't have a problem. Latency, I don't really start to feel until it gets a little over 256. 64 is great, but you know, well, let's see if we can go there. Yeah, okay. And what was on bit rate was 48. That's fine. So there's no room, there's no ambience. It's strictly the guitar into the amp. So, post effects would probably be something like reverb. So you come over here and you say add. You got to click right on the little plus sign. And you look for your reverb, and you have a selection of various reverbs. I'd like to see a little more in this area, but generally the digital reverb will suit you fine. And that is on chamber, the default, with the settings as you see there. You get plate. Hall. Chamber, of course. And room. And you can stack these. You can stack the same effect, which is another thing that's limited on a lot of those standalone units. So you can stack these things up. You can add another of the same. Oh, and that's not the same. Delete. Add. Reverb. Digital. So you could say do a room, and like you're sending it out of the room into a plate. And And something you might do is send delay after the room into the plate. So you can do that easily. One problem with the delays selection that they have, all these different delays, they really don't have a simple stereo delay. So let me show you what the ping pong sounds like first. I have a thing that I do to get over this, and this is also limited at, what is it, 400 milliseconds. So what I like to do is split this out. So I hear that it kind of goes doop, 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 doop. So I don't really, that's not really what I'm looking for. So what I end up doing is going dual here. And then you see when you go into it, this is going to turn into kind of a big long thing. So you can bail out, of course, anytime. But I'm kind of having fun with this. So when you go into a dual, an A-B situation, you get these two added devices here. This is, of course, after the chain. So you can have everything panned in the center or anywhere in between. And for this demonstration, I like to pan left and right hard. I like to link the volume because it's not really a different amp sound on each one. And you want to send it to both amps. This is the input side. You can split the input by either frequency. You can dial the frequency level here. You can do it by level. You can set that by this slider as well. Don't really do much with that, but it's a whole new thing that I could be checking out. So back to the point, what I want to do here is have a stereo delay, and I would like it to be very analog. And so one of the better analog versions is in an expansion pack that you can get. I have the Ominous, Jimi Hendrix, Acoustic and Bass. And under the Hendrix expansion pack, I like the Echoplex. And now you'll hear it's on one side. So what we do is add another one. And we're just going to offset these by ever so little. And we're going to take down the repeats and the volume. See what we get there. Still way too loud, so let's get down around 1.5. Delays can also be set to time with the tempo. Unfortunately, you can't offset it. If you set both that way, you can't offset one against the other, so they both work in unison, so it sounds like mono. I wish that there was a way for fine-tuning on that, but there isn't. What's nice about these two is you can get way up, well, let's see, way up in here, around 950. So 653 and say 78. So you get an idea. So this would be your post effects. I don't know if you're interested in hearing all the different effects. I mean, I can't go through all of them, but one of the effects that was on the recording I did was it was actually an acoustic reverb, which so that's kind of a lush-ish. Let's see what ambience is. Let's take these out. If you ask me, this is better than the digital for room sounds. Oh, okay, we're into ambience on this. This is room. Okay, and this is hall. So there's a lot of latitude in this thing. Probably, you know, I would repurpose this for just anything, including acoustic. There's something a little interesting about these. Positive Grid has an interesting style with some of these effects. They don't have a mix. And not really a big fan of that. I don't think this is a mix. This is more like the sustain. All these things here. There's no, and there's the output level is the overall mixed output level. So there's no. So that's kind of a bummer. Some things have it, some things don't. Not a big fan. All right, then on the input side, since we can't kind of select the thing that you want to put the effect closest to. Like I want to get this before the splitter, but I can't. There's no way to. I can only do it after the splitter. So what we're going to add is, I don't know, what's interesting? Modulation, maybe a chorus of some kind. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see, Univibe, phaser, trem, rotary. Let's see what a rotary sounds like on the outside of this. See, this has a mix. I mean, stereo, if you put it before, you can lose the stereo. On things that don't have a stereo mono selector, you can usually get by with that. It's a little intermittent. Sometimes it does and doesn't do that. I'm not really sure what the design method is behind that. I'm going to listen to a vibrato. Let's see what that sounds like. Okay, my finger. Oh, there we go. So there you get like a nice separation, left and right stereo, with a little pitch modulation. Oh boy, that looks too bright, doesn't it? That's a little better. So I guess you might be interested in distortion, which is it's a hard one to get good, and there are some really good combinations that you can strike in this. Probably not something you'd go to right away for distortion, but something that works well is this. This is a compressor, and the clipping. Now see, you hear that? It's one side. It's coming out the left side. The effect is only on the left side. Sometimes it does that. I don't know. And again, it's split. Okay, so if you didn't know what I was doing there, this is, I could put this on the other side. Well, what was happening there, and this might happen with other effects, is that when you make adjustments, it doesn't transmit, it doesn't transfer to both sides, and you have to kind of re-insert it. I'd say that's a bug. It may work better from this side. But I find this to be really helpful. If you want to kind of go from a breakup thing to a little more distortion. This guitar is dark. fact, let's switch. What's that rattling? Oh well. Get those P90s going. Let's mute this. Sounds pretty good to me. Let's see. Oh, if we're going for that paperback writer thing, let's add a tremolo. That would be under modulation. This one here is one of my favorites, but the tremulator works good. Let me see here. I think I like the flexibility. See, I mean, this is something else. I mean, look at the selection. It's pretty good, right? Tremolo, and as you hear, these things aren't garbage. They don't introduce a bunch of crap. They're not going to draw in more RF. I don't need another power supply. I don't need to worry about grounding with all that kind of shit. Another thing, it makes me want to play. Some apps don't do that. They're too distracting in some way, and something's missing. And I mean, there are other apps that sound really good. THU is one that comes to mind. ToneStack is okay. ToneStack is fun. I don't know that it has quite the same amp modeling. It's a little lighter on the bottom end, and it's a little more MIDI. Let's put it that way. Nothing wrong with that. But so far, this one is the one I enjoy the most, as I've said. So where was I going with this? Oh, let's look at the distortion some more. So again, we're going into a Vox-ish amplifier. Which is, it has a little bit of gain, as you see. There's a little gain in there. And these EQ controls respond like a Vox. If you've ever used a Vox, you know that these are much different than the standard bass, middle, treble tone stack that you find in most amplifiers. They interact. They're more of a filter-ish thing that kind of changes in character. I don't know I've never looked at the schematic. I don't know how they accomplish it, but this behaves the same way. The speaker they're sending you into is they call it a British 30 open back. You can change that to a closed back if you like, which gives it a little thump, gives it a little bottom, just like you would think. You can move the microphone around. You can change the microphone. You have these different mics: a 414, a 21, a ribbon 121, 421 and a 57. I mean, not a whole bunch, but I mean, you can do a lot with a lot of other things. You don't really need to mess around a whole lot with mics. I mean, more is always more fun, but it doesn't really. It's never been a problem for me. Plus, you have a selection of cabinets with various speakers. You can use your own IRs. What do I have? Any factory? Oh, yeah, I got Celestians. They're okay. They don't sound anything like the other ones. They stand out. They're very loud, and that's another story. Okay. So there's that. So let's see what else we can do with distortion. I guess we've all come across a... Oh, would it be a drive? Yeah, the tube screamer. So you kind of know the deal with that, right? You want to pretty much turn the drive down and then mess with your level. So now you can hear we're pulling in some noise level. And these are single coils. But let's see, where does my VU settle? Minus 55. So, but they have improved their gating. Now, as some of you know, or some of you may not know because it's never an issue, but if you're going to use a gate on clean sounds, or you're going to use it in a dynamic situation, you get this fuzzy stuff on the threshold. Actually, this isn't really that bad, but on this device, you can change it to a reduction instead of mute. And it gets a little less drastic. But again, we go from this to this. So let's try and get quiet. You could hear it there, see? That's on mute. But it's there for you. Okay, I think I've probably gone way, way over on this. But again, this is the thing with this. It's kind of fun, you know. I mean, some people play games and shit, but this is my game, and it's tons of fun. I don't know if I have some presets that might be interesting. Let's see, Vox Ambient. Let's see what that sounds like. Ooh. So, I mean, this is the kind of thing that's hard to reproduce in other apps, and I just don't. You don't have access to the sheer number of effects, plus the flexibility and placement. I couldn't do this with any of the mid-priced floor units at all, and I had to ask myself, why subject myself to that? For what purpose? Connections? Because anything I can do with that, I can do with an external breakout box, or even directly from this device that I used to get the sound into the unit with. I think these are great. There's plenty to talk about. I think I'd like to say it's the future, but I don't know that it is, because I don't know how well iPads and iPhones and things like that are received by the intelligentsia. But I don't really give a fuck about that, because again, you know, if you can't hear the difference, I don't really give a shit what your opinion is. But if you're one of these people that can say, oh yes, that's an iPad, that's BiasFX, and it's the Vox emulator, and it's not real, then, you know, try and get in touch with me. That would be interesting. But if I sat you down in a listening environment and recorded just the kind of basic Vox I had going on before, and another Vox, with a little bit of time, the virtual Vox would come pretty damn close, I think. Depends. You have to have some talent for using anything. I mean, that's one of the benefits of buying really expensive amplifiers. You don't have to know how to do anything. You just plug it in. You're paying, $4,000 for a thing that it's hard to make sound like shit. Just turn it on and turn it up and play, which is awesome. I mean, of course, I did that for many years, and now my hearing is not all that great because of it. And so, I like the flexibility of not being having to play wide open. But then again, yes, you do have attenuators, and you can do all those things. It's nothing wrong with that. It's awesome. It's just expensive to me, and I have all the fun in the world with this stuff. There are other features in this I haven't gone into. Maybe I'll save it for another thing because this is going way long. What is this now? Oh my God, it's almost an hour. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. As you can see, it gives me an hour's worth of material, which is probably overdoing it a bit. But I like for people to make music, do something artistic in your life, especially if you have the slightest inkling of doing it. Just do it. And this, if you have an iPhone, I mean, I forget how much the app is. But if you're a guitar player or you're not a guitar player and you want to try getting started and you need any help, uh, put a question in the comments and just go on YouTube and stuff and look around because man, you can do a lot of shit with a fucking iPad now. You'd be surprised. I guess that's gonna wrap it up. I hope that helped the question a little bit. Let me check one more time. Input, yeah. iPad, yeah. I mean, I went way out on the limb there. But I'm glad to help. And you know, if you're in a financial position, anybody out there where you can go ahead and give it a shot, you know, maybe it's not for you, maybe it is, and if it is, you'll be very happy that you did. So that's it for this, and I thank you very much for your time. Please like and subscribe. I guess I have to say that because it helps me. I'll be watching somebody's video and I really like it, and I basically don't like it when they ask you to like and subscribe before you've seen it. I find that a little odd. But if you liked it and you want to subscribe to it, I invite you to do so. And sometimes this announcement at the end is a reminder because sometimes I am watching on a smart TV and then it rolls into the end of it, where it has the links on it and you can't get back and and it's more work. So you have to kind of let people know up ahead. So if you want to, please do. If you don't, fine. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Hey, that rhymes.